feel overwhelmed by the countless marketing messages and health claims on all those packages in the supermarket, and you just don't know what is real anymore? Hi, I'm Steve Bennett. I'm a health coach, I'm an author, book The Fibre First Diet. I'm a dad, a granddad, the founder of one of the UK's largest health charities, and I'm on a mission to change the health of our nation. I'm going to do that by helping you cut through all the BS surrounding food. I'm going to share the latest research and health news right here on this channel, and if that sounds awesome to you, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more. Today I'll be giving you 10 essential food tips to transform your shopping habits. These are simple, practical changes that make a massive impact on physical health, mental health, and overall well-being. And be sure to stick around because number 10 is probably the most revealing of all. Let's get straight into it. They're going to be 10 practical, straightforward swaps and choices that have the potential to cut down inflammation in your body, help with your blood sugar levels, and really help you take control of your health. In at number 1 is swap out the vegetable oils for something else, right? Vegetable oils aren't made from vegetables. They're made from seed oils like soy, sunflower, and so on. And you might say, well, what's the problem with that? Well, let me quickly explain. In our body, we want a balance of omega-3s and omega-6s of about 1 to 1. Average adult in the UK today is more around 20 to 1, 20 times more omega-6 to omega-3. Why is that a problem? Let me explain. We want a little bit of inflammation in the body, or the ability to have inflammation, and that's what omega-6 gives us. If we get a cut or a broken leg, we want to have a bit of inflammation as protection. But the problem we have today is we're all walking around with chronic inflammation most of the time because we're getting more omega-6s. Omega-3s, on the other hand, are anti-inflammatory. They cut down on inflammation. But how about this? Some of your seed oils and vegetables that you may be buying at the moment without realizing in the supermarket are 2,000 to 1, 2,000 times more pro-inflammation omega-6s to the anti-inflammation omega-3s. So they've got to go. Number 1 rule in my house, never ever let vegetable oils through the doors again. I think eventually they will get banned at some point, but for now replace them with olive oil, it's like a medicine, coconut oil, also another medicine, and even things like lard, butter and ghee are a far better health choice than your vegetable oils. Number 2, if you're eating the skin of the fruit, make sure that it's organic. Organic, is it important? Is it not? It's kind of often overrated on things where you're actually not consuming the skin itself. For example, coconut. Don't obsess about coconuts being organic because, hey, the flesh is on inside the outer skin. But if you're eating apples and pears and you're eating grapes and things like that and you're eating the entire skin, it makes sense, of course, to make sure that they are organic. Don't worry so much about your bananas being organic or your avocados being organic because you're not eating the skin itself, you're peeling it. But everything else, if you're ingesting the skin itself, or if you're grating the skin on a lemon or a lime and you're consuming that, it's really important that you get those that are organic. Now you might say, well, what about just washing the fruit? Well, if it was as simple as just washing the fruit, then every time it rained in the fields, which of course it does a lot in the UK, then those pesticides and herbicides would be washed away and therefore they would not be effective. So washing it does not work. You can try and add a bit of vinegar into your bowl and wash and wash and wash. That may help a little bit, but the simple rule in at number 2, if you're going to consume the skin, then go organic. Number 3, and let's stay with fruits for a minute, focus on low sugar fruits like berries. Forget the idea that all fruits are created equally. The whole 5-a-day message is a nice start, but it's definitely not a blank canvas. Yes, most fruits will have some nutritional benefits with their vitamins and their minerals, but some of them are just nature's candy. Bananas, for instance, they're high in natural sugars, almost equivalent to a chocolate bar. Yes, a big banana will have the same sugar, and sugar is sugar. Doesn't matter how I try and explain it. Sugar is sugar. That banana will have as much sugar as a chocolate bar. And if you're trying to lose weight and manage your blood sugar levels, bananas are not good for you. So we simply can't treat fruit on an equal plateau. Some are super high in fiber, fantastic. Some have a different sugar called xylitol, good for your teeth, actually protects the teeth, while others are high in sugar, low in fiber, and will derail any weight loss progress. In at number 4, I've covered it in my book, I've been banging this drum for years, skip the cereals. I want to be known as the cereal killer, but the cereal killer in those boxes in the supermarket, they are nothing more than sugar in disguise. They might seem like a convenient breakfast choice, but in reality, most cereals are nearly 80% carbohydrates by volume, meaning that 80% of it converts into sugar in your body. Just 60 grams of, let's say, cornflakes can spike your blood sugar the exact same way that 18 teaspoons of sugar would. And it's not just cornflakes. Almost all cereals, even the ones marketed as healthy, will give you the same sugar surge. For anyone with a low sugar tolerance, or trying to lose weight, or battling type 2 diabetes, cereals can be one of the worst ways to start your day. In at number 5 is avoid fruit juices. When my kids were growing up, I used to always give them fruit juices thinking, hey, what a great dad, they're having lots of fruit. I'd read the message on the side of the packaging, contains vitamin C, good for you. I'm sure you've done the same. But the science and the evidence now is teaching us totally the opposite. When they make fruit juices, they take out the fiber. Go and have a look at any of them in the supermarkets today. You'll find virtually no fiber in any pre-made apple juice or orange juice. It's not there. And we need the fiber. You see, when you eat an apple or you eat an orange, the fiber offsets the sugar. That's the way nature intended it. The fiber is the antidote to the sugar. But when you're consuming the fruit juice, you're consuming just the sugar. Not only is that a really bad news for your kid and for yourself, you'll have a sugar crash by about 11 o'clock if you're having it in the morning. It's also not good for your teeth. Virtually every dentist today will say the same, that the acids in the fruit juices are causing havoc with the teeth. So not good for your teeth, not good for your blood sugar levels, just not good on any level whatsoever. Literally, it's the same as sending your kids to school having drank a whole can of Coca-Cola, and today I think most people are pretty much aware that that doesn't make sense. In at number 6, butter over margarine. We touched on oils in point number 1. Let's talk about butters right now. Butter over margarine. I want you to embrace butter, whether that be butter, whether it be lard, whether that be ghee, all these things that for the last 30, 40 years that we thought were unhealthy, when people started to say saturated fat was bad for us as kind of a sidestep to let sugar get off the hook, we now know that saturated fat, if it's natural saturated fat, isn't unhealthy at all. So embrace the butter, whether it's salted, unsalted, whether it's the ghee, but do ditch the margarines. Now, you might say, well, margarine's gone altogether, and you are in one sense correct. We now have banned margarines because of some of the ingredients that were in them. But what would we replace them with? We've replaced them, with these soft butters. If it's a soft butter, have a look on the side, you will find they are full of oils. Are they the good oils? No, they're the seed oils that we talked about in point number 1. So ditch all of those softy, scoopy butters. If the thought of putting your knife through the butter and all that hard work is too much for you, just take your butter, stick it in the microwave and make it nice and soft. But don't buy those soft butters, those easily spread butters, because they are full of nasties. In at number 7 is a list of 12 ingredients where it pays to go organic. This is research done by our very own government that shows the 12 foods that we find in our supermarkets that have the highest concentration of herbicides and pesticides. They call it the dirty dozen list. These are those that when you purchase them have still got the highest concentrations, or the most likelihood of having the highest concentrations of herbicides and pesticides. Does that matter? We have to think about the history of these. Back at the end of the Second World War, these were actually used as a weapon. They had a surplus of them at the end of the war, and they decided to give them to farmers to put on their crops to help protect the crops from the animals. The problem is we no longer want them in our diet. The problem is, whilst many people say they're okay for our health, there's starting to become a lot of evidence to suggest otherwise. Try and familiarize yourself with these dirty zones, because this is where the evidence suggests that in our supermarkets, these are where we'll find most of the herbicides and pesticides still residing on our foods. Yes, tomatoes, strawberries, spinach, they're all important in the diet. They're all full of antioxidants, the good stuff for us, but we really should be prioritizing these as the organic ones. In at number 8 is don't fear full fat. For decades, we've been surrounded in our supermarkets with foods that go low fat this, low fat this. I mean, it's just like everywhere. I'll tell you a true story. I was obese for 30 years, and every time I went shopping, I went for the low fat this, the low fat that, and I stayed obese all those years. Fat is not the enemy, my friend. Sugar, and too much sugar, is what we need to be wary of if we're trying to lose our weight or reverse diabetes. Fat is essential for the human body. It's essential for brain function. There isn't any community in the world, even the remotest parts of the Amazon or Inuits, that can survive without dietary fat. But you can't say the same about carbohydrates. You know, the human requirement for carbohydrates is 0. We don't actually need them at all in the diet. We don't need any sugar whatsoever in the diet. So when you see low fat this, low fat yogurt, low fat meat, you've got to start asking yourself, if it's low fat and they've taken out some of the fat, which we shouldn't fear the fat, what have they put in instead? And the answer normally is lots more sugar. Literally pick yourself up a yogurt that's full fat and one that's no fat, and you'll find that the one that has no fat now has lots of sugar. And the great thing with full fat, it's normally the cheaper version, the cheaper option, and it keeps you feeling full for longer. Now, if you feel full for longer, 2 things are going to happen. First of all, it's going to be easy to lose weight because you don't consume so much food. And of course, if you're not consuming so much food, it's good for your wallet as well. So maybe if you're not eating as much, take the savings there and go organic on the dirty dozen list. In at number 9, something I didn't believe, something that I thought was complete nonsense, but it turns out to be absolutely true, is frozen vegetables are often the better choice. Certainly better for the wallet, but also potentially better for your health. Why? Well, most frozen vegetables are frozen the day of picking, whereas fresh foods, they today tend to pick them before they're ripe. And that's how they get them all the way from the field to the supermarket, or not so much the field these days. They get them from the big warehouse where they've been sort of grown, what we call hydroponically, but to the supermarket. And that means they're actually picked before they're totally fresh. So all the nutrients don't have time to develop. Whereas the frozen ones, they're picked at the right time, when they're at their ripest, when they've got the highest nutrition, and they're frozen at source. So whereas in the past we used to think that frozen wasn't as good, we now know, if anything, in most cases, and if you're looking at your broccolis, if you're looking at some of your fruits, you know, your blackberries, your strawberries, if you're looking at almost anything, I can't think of hardly any example where the frozen probably isn't better health-wise than the unfrozen. And most recipes and most ways of cooking, you can cook your vegetables straight from frozen. It just makes so much sense. You get less wastage because you haven't got to use it before it goes off in the fridge. More convenience because you've always got it in the freezer. It's cheaper, it's more nutritious. There just is very few reasons or very few vegetables where you'd be better off going for the fresh. And watch out for another video where we'll be showing you how to cook those frozen vegetables. It's not just vegetables. I'd like to think about fish. Let's say prawns. Most prawns come from many thousands of miles away. How do you think they get from the prawn farm to the supermarket? Frozen. And then they're unfrozen, and now we've got a short shelf life period that makes them more expensive and less nutritious. What you'd be better off is buying your prawns frozen, because that's the way they were shipped to the UK. And the only time they're unfrozen is when you're about to consume them, locking in all the nutrients, and of course, making them cheaper too. And in at number 10, and I said it's probably the most important, is about investing in quality foods. It's an investment in your health. Eating better may cost a little bit more on the outset. Meal by meal Yes, picking those organic berries may cost a little bit more than those sort of ready-made meals, but it's an investment in your health. What you'll find in the long term is as you start eating more nutritious foods with the right natural fats in it over packaged foods, is you just don't eat as much food simply because you feel full for longer. All those packaged foods are designed to make you feel full straight away afterwards, but to make you hungry as quick as possible afterwards to sell you more product. They're designed that way. They take out the fiber. They do tricks in those foods to make you consume more food. So while eating healthy meal by meal is more expensive, there tends to be a lot less snacking in between. And all our research suggests in the long run, your food bills, your grocery bills actually go down, not up. It's also important to say that the food spend that we have today is a lot lower as a percentage of our income than it was 20 years ago. 20 years ago, typically a family would spend about 30% of their disposable income on food. Today, it's down by 2/3. We have sort of deprioritized our food for other things. I think you can't put a price on your health, and if it costs a little bit more in the short term, I think that extra little bit of spend will make such a difference. But let's turn even number 10 back into a food tip. If you're going to buy bacon, and I love bacon, and if you're worried about all those headlines about red meat causes cancer, let me give you a bit of advice. It cannot be the meat itself that causes cancer because we've been consuming it for thousands of years. It must be something we're doing to the meat. And bacon is a great example. Nearly all bacon is full of nitrates. That's how they give it the pink color. That's how they extend the shelf life. And we now know that nitrates, or let's say there is research to suggest that nitrates may cause cancer. But the great news is virtually every UK supermarket now has at least one option of bacon that on the label says nitrate-free. And here's the good news to end on. Nitrate-free bacon, other than being a little less pink in colour, doesn't cost you any more at all. You've just got to spend a little bit of time in the supermarket looking for the label that says nitrate-free. So that's your 10 tips. Let me know below which one shocked you the most. If you've got other things you're querying about in the supermarket, again, comment. We read all of the comments, my team and I. That will help us shape future videos for you. And if you can, please do like and subscribe to us. That will help us get more people watching. The more people that watch means the more researchers we can send out, keeping you well informed of how to avoid those pitfalls in the supermarket.